You tell somebody that enough times, they'll score the game-winning goal. They'll make $100,000 a year. They'll go from making $30,000 a year to 100. They'll go from 100 to 2. They'll go from 2 to 3. You just keep beating that love into them. Just keep driving it, how much you love and believe in them. And you watch how they blossom. You watch how they grow. Hey guys, if you think back to your favorite teacher, coach, mentor, whatever, that person who, when you think back to your childhood, that person who really impacted you in a positive way, I'll bet you whatever you want, there's one thing that every one of those people has in common. Like, if a million people listen to this episode and a million people thought of that person who really impacted them, I bet you every single one of those people has something in common. I bet they believed in you. And not only did they believe in you, but you knew that they believed in you. They didn't keep it to themselves. And the result of that is it made you believe in yourself. Am I right? I'm right. Not right about everything. Lots of things I'm wrong about. But I know for sure about this part, I'm right. I'm 100% right on this. Today, on the Army of Great Men, we're going to talk about the power of belief and the power that those thoughts have. The power that those thoughts have on you, on the people that look up to you, on the people that you look up to. How important those thoughts are. It's going to be a great episode. Let's go. Have you ever walked into a sporting event and you already knew the result? The second you walked into the building, right? You could just feel the energy in the air. And it can go both ways, right? I'm a lifetime fan of the Buffalo Bills and the Edmonton Oilers. Some dark years for those fan bases. And now those teams are doing really well. And so it's really fun, right? Because we get to, the people that didn't just recently jump on the bandwagon on those teams. We knew what it was like to go through all those dark times. And, there were lots of games I can remember. I've been to lots of Bills games. I've been to, countless other games. And when they were really shitty, like both of those teams, when they were shitty, there would be those games where they'd be up, the Oilers would be up a couple goals in the third period. And you just get this uneasy feeling. And it wasn't just you, like everybody in the building had the same feeling. It was like, shit, we're going to blow this, aren't we? And then, that energy, it just, it would spread throughout the building and you felt it and the players felt it, like everybody. It's just, that nervous energy. And you knew they were going to fuck it up. And they did. That energy is really powerful. And so is the other way, right? Like now that the Oilers are good and the Bills are good, it's really exciting when you walk into the building and you're like, it's a playoff game or something. And the second you walk into that building, you're like, there's no way they're going to lose tonight, because you just feel it. It's that electricity. It's that, you just walk in the building and your hair's on fire because it's just so powerful. That energy, it connects us all, and it is super contagious and incredibly impactful. And as empowering as it is, when it's on your side, it's equally as difficult to get over it when it's not. And that's why, so many teams that are so bad for so long, that's why it's so hard for them to get out of it. Because not only do they have to, get better players and better this and better that and, better coaching, all those things, they also need to get better energy, because it's very difficult to overcome it when you're in a building of 18,000 people and you know that all of them, they know you're going to lose, right? Like they've got that energy. It's a really hard thing to overcome, and that's why it's really hard to turn a franchise around or a team around when that energy is and the results have been so bad for so long. It's just a really, really tricky thing. I'm giving you, a really large example of what that energy can look like when so many people feel the same thing. But there are lots of other examples. I'm going to talk about those examples today where that one-on-one energy can really, really make a difference in the people's lives around you. Everybody has somebody they look up to, and everybody has somebody that looks up to them, right? Like you're listening to this show for sure, whether you believe it or not, there's somebody who looks up to you, whether it's somebody at work. If you have kids, guaranteed your kids look up to you. If you don't have kids, maybe it's your nieces or nephews or little brother or little sister or whatever. There's somebody out there that looks up to you. And the way that you treat them, good or bad, is going to impact them. It is. And it's something that I think a lot of us lose sight of because, a lot of us might think it sounds kind of arrogant to walk around going, oh yeah, these people look up to me. Well, it's not arrogant. It's just a reality, right? Somebody looks up to you. They do. There's somebody out there that looks up to you. And I'm going to challenge you today. I'm going to go through a bunch of examples today, and I'm going to challenge you how to treat those people in a way that will allow you to inspire them to be better. And really, that's all leadership is, right? There's books and books and books and books about leadership. But really, the root of it is, what do leaders do? They inspire the people that they lead to be better in a small way, in a big way, in lots of ways, right? There's no faster way to do that than to prove to the people that you're leading, to prove to them and to make them see that you believe in them. Because if they look up to you, chances are they respect you. And if they respect you, chances are they respect your opinion. And if they respect your opinion and you can show them that your opinion that you have of them is bigger than the one they have in themselves, that's how you inspire people. That's how you make them believe in themselves. When they believe in themselves, they can achieve more. And when they can achieve more, they can be more and become more, grow. That's what leadership is. That's the whole game. I'm going to share some stories with you, and I hope that they inspire you to be a better leader, because you are a leader, whether you know it or not. You're a leader. You're a leader to somebody. Some people think you have to be, a leader to 1 million people to be a leader. Bullshit. Be a leader to one. Be a leader to one. That's it. That's all you got to do. Make an impact. When you see that impact, particularly when it's deliberate, to fill your soul, it'll make you want to do more of it. So we're going to talk about a few fun stories today. As I started off this show, when you think back to that teacher or coach or whoever who inspired you, they believed in you, right? I just went for lunch the other day with one of my closest friends, and a guy I've been in business with for a long, long time. And randomly, he sort of told me this story about how he really struggled in school growing up. And it shocked me because this guy is crazy smart. I would count him in the top handful of the smartest people I've ever known. In every way, not just smart, but wise. He's just a book smart, more initials on his, after his name on his business card than I can count. There's he's got a lot of designations and a lot of education, a lot of things that, most people never achieve in their life. And so when he told me that he was really struggling in school, I was just legitimately shocked. Like, I didn't think there would ever be 1 minute that he struggled in school, but he really did. And he told me the story about this teacher he had in grade 5 who pulled him aside. He was really struggling. He was struggling with, math and this and everything else. And this teacher pulled him aside and said, you're way smarter than you think you are. And he sort of jerked back and looked like, what do you mean? And then the teacher started showing him the best things that he's doing, things that he wasn't giving himself credit for. And he just kept doing it. And eventually my friend started to believe that, yeah, like maybe I am pretty smart. And then went on to just, greatness. He's absolutely brilliant. I bet you have somebody like that too, right? The problem though is that as fun as it is to have that person in your corner, for a lot of us, that confidence can be a little bit shallow, a little bit vulnerable. And all it takes is one teacher who doesn't believe in you and makes it known that they don't believe in you, right? By their words, their actions, their body language, and around all those things. Most people aren't very good actors or actresses, right? So if they don't like you, they don't believe in you, they might not say it, but you'll know, right? You'll know. So unfortunately, for a lot of us, we had that teacher who was our favorite, who, we looked at with such admiration because they made us feel so good about ourselves. But then you get some other asshole down the road who undoes it all by making you feel like a dummy, making you feel like a shithead. And it's hard to ignore those, right? Like, we're so wired to focus on criticism and the negative and the things that put us down that sometimes, that's all you can see. Some people, I mean, you can give them 99 points of praise and compliments and one bit of constructive criticism, and that one little bit of criticism can just end them. It's the truth, right? Like, some of us, that's unfortunately, it's how we're wired. And that's a hard thing to overcome. But hopefully, if you hear what I'm saying today and you understand the impact that you can have on other people, maybe it'll allow you to accept more of that praise and leadership from the people that are leading you, without focusing on the one or two little things that they're critical of you about. I'm a big movie buff. I love watching movies. I'm sure you too. And my favorite movies are always like coming of age movies, right? I know the movie Rudy is not entirely factual. I know that there's a bunch of parts of that movie that were made up for dramatic effect and all those things. So don't sit here and, like, I don't want to hear a bunch of texts or tweets or posts or whatever about Rudy wasn't really as accurate as he said. I know, just ignore that. It's not the point of what I'm saying. The part of the reason that stories like Rudy are so inspiring is not what he achieved and what he was able to do in light of his shortcomings and his size and all those things. The reason that it makes people so emotional is because we all know inherently, whether we verbalize it or not, we all know inherently that when your parents or your family or whatever, when they're doing everything they can to make sure that that you're nothing, you're never going to go anywhere. I think the reason it makes us so emotional is we know how hard it would be to overcome that, right? Because a lot of us have experienced by somebody in our life. And so to overcome that, to dismiss all of that stuff and ignore it, all the naysayers, all the people who they feel threatened by the potential of your success. So, when you're climbing that ladder, they're like, hey, where do you think you're going? Get back down here. You're staying here with us, right? We know how hard it is to overcome that. So when someone does it, that's why I think it brings out so much emotion in us, because it's not just what they achieved, it's that they achieved it in spite of all the people that were supposed to be, their most important allies, doing everything they could to bring them down. And there's lots of movies like this, right? Like there's, Hollywood's really good at recycling, certain stories, but that one, the rags to riches, the person who was never supposed to make it, who does in spite of everybody trying to tear him down. Those ones, like, for a lot of people, especially me, like, it's like, you couldn't stop me from crying, at the end of Rudy. Like, I could watch it 1,000 times. I'll be crying every time because I know how hard that must be to overcome that. And so, yeah, I know the movie's not completely accurate, but what it brings out in us, that feeling of, overcoming that, is it's the best. It's the best. When I coached hockey, so my two boys, Jack and Fletcher, they played hockey for a number of years, and Jack was a goalie. Jack didn't really like me coaching him very much. He liked the time that we spent together, but like, goalies are weird. And my son laughs when, but everybody said, oh, goalies are weird. And it's not that they're weird. They're just weird when they're goalies, right? Like, you got to be a little bit weird to want people shooting pucks at you and, things like that. But Jack didn't really want me coaching him, and that was fine. But my son Fletcher, he loved that I was his coach, and I loved coaching him. And, I think back, I did coach both kids from time to time, but I was a coach on Fletcher's team, pretty every year that he played hockey. Except the first one. So, it was a lot of fun coaching those kids. But my favorite years were when I was the assistant coach, because, when you're the head coach, I had to focus on so many other things. I had to focus on keeping this parent happy and that parent happy, and setting the lineups and doing this and doing that. And I didn't get to connect with the kids the way I did when I was an assistant, because there was just too much to do. There was too many other things to do. But when I was the assistant coach, they were my favorite, because I got to just go spend time with the kids every single day, every single practice, before every practice and every game. I'd check in with them. I'd spend time with them. And before every practice and every game, every kid had to tell me two things. I would go and sit down with them, and I'd say, okay, what are we going to work on today? They had to declare their intention, whether it was a practice, a game, whatever. What are you going to work on today? Right? And if they didn't have an answer, I might help them come up with something, right? And then when they did that, when they achieved what they were going to do. So one kid says, I'm going to really work on, I want to get 3 shots on net today, or I'm going to win 3 puck battles, or I'm going to make 5 good passes, or whatever. We say, okay, great. That's awesome. And we always wanted those goals to be something that have to, push for a little bit, but I want it to be something that they could achieve. And if and when they achieved it, I would just pump their tires like crazy. Oh, it's so good. I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. Pump that in, just like, feed it to them over and over and over. When they did, I knew you could do it, buddy. I knew you could do it. Oh, man. I wasn't surprised for a second. I knew you were going to do this. And you just see, their posture change, and they stick their chest out because they feel so good about themselves. Because in a game like hockey, or, any sport, I don't care what you're talking about. I mean, it's easy to just focus on, goals and assists and points and wins and losses. But sometimes when you do that, you lose sight of all the little things, all the little wins, all the little, internal battles that they go through during a game. And if you can teach them to celebrate those things, it gets really exciting. So anyway, there's this one kid, his name's Emmett, and Emmett, when I just love this kid. And, he's still a great kid. I haven't seen him in forever, but I follow him on Instagram, and Emmett's just a really, really good kid. And I always had a soft spot for him. I loved every kid I coached, but, some you connect with a little more than others. And, Emmett was definitely in that boat. And, I'll never forget it. We're like, probably 10 games into the year, and Emmett still hadn't scored a goal. And he was starting to feel, a little down about himself. And, I didn't have to, nobody had to tell me, but I could just tell, like, he was just frustrated, because I knew the year before, he'd scored a bunch of goals, and this time 10 games in, he hadn't scored a single goal, and he had lots of chances. He had some posts and whatever. And so we're leading up to, we generally played our games on weekends. And so we practiced during the week, and I pulled him aside. I was like, Emmett, You're going to score this weekend. It's coming. And in fact, I got a funny feeling. I think you're going to get the game winner. I just have a hunch. You're going to get it. So in practice, if he'd score in practice, I'd be like, yep, it's coming, buddy. Oh boy, here we go. It's coming. It's coming. And, just pounded it into him where, like I know he's putting his head on his pillow at night thinking, okay, it's coming. I'm going to score this weekend. This is coming. So we're playing this game on the weekend, and first period goes by, he hasn't scored. Second period goes by, he hasn't scored. And we're down 4-2 after 2 periods. I'll never forget it. I mean, this is like shit. This is probably almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago anyway. And I can remember it like it's yesterday. We're down 4-2 after 2 periods. And he looks at me and he's like, game winner, eh? And I was like, oh yeah. I said, this is just perfect, buddy. I said, we're going to win 5-4 and you're getting the winner. You watch. He's like, I'm like, I've seen it happen. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Trust me, buddy. This is coming. This is coming. You're going to do it. So, we had this speech after the second period and got the kids, fired right up and win every battle. And, like one of those, Gordon Bombay speeches from the Mighty Ducks, right? Like just get these kids just going. And, so we got them going. And sure enough, it's tied 4-4. The kids came back and there's like 3 minutes left. And I looked at Emmett and I was like, okay, buddy, this is it. It's time. Let's go. Game winner right now. Wouldn't you know it? He scores the fifth goal for our team. We're up 5-4. It's the game winner. He comes to the bench and I like just grab him by his chest and I'm shaking him and he's just like, his smile is this big. And I'm like, I told you, buddy. I told you. And he's just like, it's just a goal. But for him, it was just like, oh my God. And you could just feel it. And then from that moment on, like anytime I would encourage him or coach him or anything, like he knew that I believed in him. And I knew that he respected me enough that belief really meant something to him, right? When somebody believes in you, if they're a donkey, yeah, it's nice, but like who really cares? But when it's somebody when you really look up to and respect them, when those people believe in you, it just carries more weight, right? The same way it carries more weight when they don't believe in you. So, that's why it's so important as a leader. And like I said, you're a leader. You're a leader to somebody. That's why it's so important that those people who respect you and look up to you know that you believe in them. Because it's a wasted opportunity if they don't, right? If they don't understand that you believe in them, or if you don't believe in them and you can't figure out what to believe in, you just waste that opportunity as a leader to help somebody that looks up to you get better. And on the flip side, if they feel right or wrong that you don't believe in them, then not only are you wasting an opportunity as a leader, but you're actually hurting that person who looks up to you. Like you're really hurting their chances at success when they walk around going, oh man. And maybe they don't say it, but they feel it. It makes them feel this big when they look up to you and they know that you don't believe in them or they feel that you don't. It's a really hard thing for a kid to overcome. So, just be really careful with the people who look up to you. And maybe, I challenge you to write a little list about the people who likely look up to you, right? And be honest with yourself, right? Whether it's a kid, your kids, a niece, a nephew, a little brother, someone you coach, some kid maybe it's your kid's friends, whoever. There are people out there that do. Make a list and then ask yourself honestly, does that kid know I believe in them? Does that kid know? And if there's even a fraction of a doubt in your mind, go fix it. Make sure they know. And you might say, well, how do I do that? Tell them. Say the words, I believe in you. And if they look at you funny, tell them why. Tell them why. Tell them what you see. Tell them the things that you see in them that they don't see in themselves. Tell them. Watch the reaction you get. Don't just tell them once. Beat it into them. Like just rinse, lather, repeat. Just go over and over and over and over and over until they have no choice but to believe in themselves because they see how much you believe in them. It'll happen, right? It'll happen. It's a really impactful thing, man. I'm just thinking about my dad as I'm telling these stories, and my dad he was kind of the king of this, and it's why so many people just loved him. My dad's name was Al Durgis, and if he had time for you, if you're listening to my show for the first time today, if you go back, I talk about my dad a lot because one of the things that inspired me to do this show was to share with you all a number of the lessons that my dad instilled, my dad and my mom both instilled in me and my brother and sister. My dad's thing was if he had time for you, and that was the biggest compliment he could give you, is that he had time for you, right? If he had time for you, he would move heaven and earth to make sure that you knew how great you were. And nobody's great at everything, right? We're all going to be better at some things than others, and it's okay. Like, just because you acknowledge that somebody is shitty at something doesn't mean you don't believe in them. It's just like, yeah, it's not really your thing, right? Like I was the slowest runner on earth growing up. Well, today still, like I run like I'm angry at the ground. I don't know what it is. It's just not one of my gifts. I'm not a fast runner. And my dad used to tease me about, that I ran weird and my legs were flying around and, ow, shit, bang my funny bone. But it didn't mean that he didn't believe in me. It was just one of my shortcomings, and that's okay. But then, while he might tease me about that, he would be reinforcing, yeah, but you can do this. Look how good you are at that, right? You can hit a baseball, you can hit a golf ball, you can, whatever. Good skater, whatever. When he believed in you, he would find that greatness in you and he would make sure to bring it out. And, as a result, it's part of why so many people loved him so much, because if he loved you, he made you feel so good about yourself, about something. It was generally more than one thing, but, it'd be for sure one thing. And that's why so many people looked at my dad sort of the way you felt when you were thinking about your favorite teacher or coach as a kid, right? He believed in them and they knew it. And one of my favorite stories, I know I've told this story on a show before, but he was the sales manager for an office supply company in Regina for a number of years. And he was that guy who every morning he would walk around. They had, well over 100 employees, and he knew, the janitor's name. He knew, the truck driver. He knew the names of their kids. He knew something about everybody. And so when he was walking around the building talking to everybody, he'd say, "Hey, how's Janet doing? And how are the kids? And how are this?" And like he just knew it all. And then on Fridays he would always bring in, some form of a potluck, right, where it was pulled pork or this or whatever. And he would just send an email to every employee saying, "Hey, I brought in some pulled pork for lunch. Please pop in the lunchroom and have a sandwich on me." And the reason he did that is he wanted to bring everybody together. So he'd always eat in the lunchroom with the staff because he just wanted to spend time with them and get to know them. Anyway, there's this one guy who was driving a truck, and he was making $33,000 a year. And my dad, one day after talking to him for many, many lunches, pulled him aside and he said, "Hey, I want to bounce something off you." He said, "We need a new sales guy. Somebody left. There's an opening. We need somebody in sales. And I think you'd be perfect for it. I really think you'd be good at this." And the guy's like, "Well, Al, I need this base salary. And if I was in sales, it would be commissions. And I just can't risk it. Like I've got kids, I've got a wife, I need this salary. And also I've never sold anything. Like, I don't know if I can do this." So my dad says to me, he's like, "Look, I know you've never done this before. I know you've never been in sales before. But look, I know I know what a good salesman looks like, and I know what a great salesman looks like. And I promise you, you can do this. And not only can you do it, you're going to be great at it. like really, really great. So I'll make you an offer. This is my promise to you. First thing, I know you need this $33,000 salary. So I promise I'll guarantee your base salary of $33,000. It's a commission job, but I guarantee you will not make less than $33,000. I'll put it in writing. The other thing that I'll guarantee you, and I'll promise you, is that if you do everything that I tell you to do, step by step, I'll give you exactly the formula, and I'll go on calls with you. I'll help you out. If you do what I tell you to do, I promise you're going to make $100,000 in your first year. I promise. And the last thing I promise you is that if you don't like it, forget about the money for a minute, because I only want you to do things that you love to do. If it turns out you don't like doing this and you want to go back to driving the truck, all you have to do is ask, and I promise, no questions asked, I will put you back on that truck. You can have that old job anytime you want. And he's like, really? Yeah. So he did it. He took the leap. And in that first year, he made $100,000. First year. And at my dad's funeral, he came up to me after, and he told me that story. And I kind of knew like a little bit about that story, but he wanted me to know how impactful my dad was to him, and that he changed his life, and he changed the whole course of his life. And yeah, like you can look at it and go, okay, he gave him a job, he manager, that's the manager's job. Yeah. But the real inspiration for that success was that he knew my dad believed in him in a way that nobody had ever believed in him before. And even after my dad died, that belief, carried forward. Like now that guy knows that he can do that. He knows that he can sell. Talk about making an impact, right? And that's why as leaders, it's so important that, it almost doesn't, like, not that none of the other things we do as leaders don't matter, but if you don't do this, if you don't inspire them and make sure that they feel how much you believe in them, nothing else you do really matters, right? Now, if you do that, there's a whole bunch of other things that you have to do as a leader that impact them. But if you don't cover that, like, what does it matter? Like, if the people you're leading think you don't believe in them, what chance do you have of getting the most out of them? Like zero, right? Zero. You're pushing a rope uphill. You're never going to get there. So, as that leader, it's just so critically important. And, I really think we lose sight of that because a lot of times we discount how our actions impact others. And I think it's because maybe we don't see ourselves for what we are, and that is impactful people, right? Everybody can make an impact. You make an impact every day, good, bad, or otherwise. You make an impact. So if you know you're going to make an impact, why wouldn't you make an impact that will inspire them, make them be better, right? I mean, that story that I told about my dad there, like he didn't just change that guy's life. He changed that guy. He didn't change it. He gave that man the ability to change the trajectory of his entire family, right? And not that there's anything wrong with driving a truck. There's not. But for some people, they're meant for more than that. And my dad could see that. Well, maybe that guy's kids, maybe they thought that driving a truck was their ceiling. Maybe they thought that's as high as they can go. And for some people, like there's lots of truck drivers and they absolutely love doing that. And that's their calling. That's what they love to do. They're long haul trucking. They're doing this and that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Not at all. Believe me, as somebody who's unvaccinated, I've got a lot of time and respect and gratitude for truck drivers. So don't take that as me saying that truck drivers aren't enough or aren't valuable or whatever, because that's the last thing in the world that I'm saying. But some people, their path is different than that, and their road is different than that. And so when my dad helped this man find something in him that was that was beyond what he had done before in a way that had never occurred to him, it impacts him. It changes the trajectory of his life and his kids' life and their kids' life, right? And sometimes we forget just how incredibly impactful we can be as people. So remember that, right? When you go out there today and you make an impact, remember how powerful that impact can be, and you just never know. You never know what it's going to do. Belief in each other, in friendship, is also really impactful. So one of my all-time best buddies, my buddy Jason, who, at this stage is far more like a brother than a friend. I love him like family, and it's mutual. I feel it back. I don't think I've ever had a friend who believed in me more than him, and vice versa. Like, we have so much belief and confidence in one another, and like we're constantly building each other up and pumping each other's tires. And we play golf, like in the summer, we play golf together constantly. And even when we're competing against one another, like, you get to the first hole and you do the ball toss, you partners are, it's weird. Like, usually, like some super competitive. So usually if I'm playing against somebody, like, they're my mortal enemy for the next 4.5 hours, right? Like, I'm not an asshole about it, but like, I really like to win and I hate to lose. But when I'm playing against him, it's like I'm still cheering for him, and vice versa, because we just want, nothing but the best for one another. And there's so much, there's just so much love and respect there. But when we're partners, because we believe in each other so much, oh man, we are a tough out. We have this thing in Edmonton, we have this interclub thing where all the clubs in town, they have a team, and this team is made up of the best players at each club, and then you go compete against the best players against the other club, and it's a match play format. So it's 2-man best ball. So 2 men take your best score on each hole, and no handicaps, no strokes, your best against their best. And the year that I'm going to describe here, we're playing against golfers that are typically better than we were, scratch or better. At that time I was maybe like a 2 handicap, and I think Jay was like a 4. And so, in most cases that year, we'd be playing against players that were better than we were, but we were unbeatable. And it was because we believed in each other so much, right? Like, in this format, you take the best score on each hole. So like, if I'm in the trees and I'm going to make a bogey or a double or something, if he can make a par, then that's our score for the hole. Well, every time, if he screwed up, I'd bail us out. If I screwed up, he'd bail us out. Like, it was incredible the way we fed off each other when things were going well, but how we rescued each other when they weren't, and the confidence we had in each other. Like, it was just like, so that year we played 3 matches. We won all 3. There's 3 points in each match. I think we lost a 0.5 point total all year. But in 2 of the 3 matches, Jason had about a 10-foot putt on the 18th hole to win. If he makes it, we win. If he misses, we either tie or lose. Like, these are like, close matches. First time, makes it dead center. Like, and I wasn't surprised. The next match, I didn't even watch the putt. I didn't even have to. Like, I'm already like marking him down for 4 on the card. I already knew we won. Soon as he's lining it up, like, it's over. I knew it. I knew he was going to make it, and of course he did. Part of why we were so tough to beat is because we believed in one another so much, and not in a way where you apply pressure, not in a way where you you apply pressure in a way that makes it harder on the other person. It's like you just enable success. You just make it so easy to win. And, like when and I'm not comparing us to, a championship hockey team or this or that. That's not what I'm saying. But the feeling's kind of the same, right? Like when you hear after a team wins a championship, when you listen to the interviews after with the players who won, they all say the same thing, right? And this is not cliche. This is what they say This is what winning teams say. Well, yeah, we believed in one another. Like we knew that, there was no weak link in this chain. Everybody's going to do their job. I knew that I could count on this guy and that one and that, right? Every time. It's because that's what it takes to win, right? You have to have the confidence in one another, but that comes from the belief that everybody is going to do their job, and it's not an accident, right? You show me a great team, I'll show you a team with great leadership. Only every time. And what those leaders do is they believe. It's one of the things, with the Oilers, Connor McDavid, when they were losing, there would be points where they'd be losing and he'd be on the bench and somebody would screw up on the ice and his body language, like he'd just have his head down and he'd just be like, he maybe wasn't realizing that people saw it. But, some people made a big deal out of that and they showed that, he clearly doesn't believe in this player. You watch him now, his body language is so different. Someone makes a mistake. It's like, okay, boys, let's pick him up. Let's go. We got it. And then he comes to the bench, give him a pat on the head. I got you, brother. Let's go. Shit happens. Get it back, right? We got this. I believe in you. Let's go. Time to go. And that's what leaders do, right? They don't shit on people when they screw up. That just makes them feel worse, makes them feel like you don't believe in them. But when it's the opposite, off you go. I'm going to end this by talking about parents, right? If you're listening to this and your parents made you think that they don't believe in you, I'm sorry. That's a really hard thing for you to overcome. And if they did that, I got news for you. Your parents are shitheads. I guarantee there's something great about you. Guarantee it. If your parents were too dumb to figure that out, fuck them. You have to let that go. It's going to require some work. I'm sorry you got to do that work, but you're going to be better for it. So find that belief in yourself. Think about the people who did believe in you and think about what you can learn from them, right? One of my dad's favorite lines, he'd say, Adam, son, in this life, you'll have the opportunity to learn from the good and the bad. The only question is, are you smart enough to learn from both? So when you're reflecting back on the people who either believed in you or didn't, think about that. Think about the good and the bad. Figure out how to learn from both. Then figure out how to be a better parent yourself. Figure out how to be a better mom, better dad, better parent, better uncle, better big brother, better whatever. Figure it out. Think about how the shitty ones that impacted you made you feel, and make sure that you never make those people that look up to you feel that way. Think about the ones who made you feel great. Write it down. Figure it out. What did they do? Think about it. What did they do to make you feel so good about yourself? What did they do? And do that. Do that for your kids. I had a realization that I was in Colombia on a personal development mission. And on that mission, one of the things that I realized was that I wasn't 100% sure that my daughter knew how much I believed in her. I wasn't really sure. And starting to impact my relationship with her. And it was because, girls and boys are so different, right? Teenage girls and boys. I mean, my daughter is only 1 year older than her younger brother, but it's like she's 10 years older in many, many ways, right? Like girls they're just more mature than boys are. And so because of that, my expectations and the way that I treat her and the way that I would push her, frankly, they're just different than the way that I parent my sons. Cause she's different. She's just so much more mature and she's just at a different stage. And one of the realizations that I had when I was in the jungle was that maybe she misconstrued my the way that I treated her as not believing in her or not trusting her or not caring enough to coddle her or, anything like that. And I got to tell you guys, like it really made me feel for a very brief time like I had failed as a parent. And there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Like we're all going to screw up. We're all going to make lots of mistakes, but like, God, if your kids think that you don't believe in them, that's a fail. Like that's a fail. And so, I was really beating myself up about this and just feeling terrible that, even if there's a 1% chance that she was feeling that. And so the next morning I sent her a text and I just started making sure that she knew not just how much I loved her, but how much I admired her for how capable she is and how intelligent she is and how strong she is and how smart she is and all those things and just how much I admire her best qualities and just how great she is. And, before that, like we were really going through some turmoil. And I think, I don't know for sure, but, because, teenagers go through all sorts of things. But boy, did I ever have a different relationship with her once I made it abundantly clear how much I believed in her. And it's simple, guys. Say it. I believe in you. Like you might be listening to this going, well, how do I let my kids know that I believe in them? Tell them you believe in them. Like try that for starters, and then let your actions follow. But for starters, sit them down and say, hey, do you know how great you are? Do you know how amazing it is that you can do this? God, that's good. What a gift. I believe in you. You're going to do something with that gift, You are. Just watch. You tell somebody that enough times, they'll score the game-winning goal. They'll make $100,000 a year. They'll go from making $30,000 a year to 100. They'll go from 100 to 2. They'll go from 2 to 3. You just keep beating that love into them. Just keep driving it, how much you love and believe in them. And you watch how they blossom. You watch how they grow. Because they respect you. If somebody they don't respect tells them that, they might throw it away. But if somebody they really look up to and they really respect, if they drive that point home enough times, eventually they're going to go, well, geez, like, I don't really see that, but like this guy seems to know what he's talking about. He really seems confident I can do this. Maybe I can. It works, you guys. It sounds simple because it is. As a leader, your job is to inspire people. You're there to inspire greatness, to get the most out of them. It's impossible for people to find their greatness if they don't believe in themselves. And until they do, until they believe in themselves, one of your main jobs as that leader is to help them find it. Help them find not only that they believe in themselves, but why they should believe in themselves. And do it in a way that when that other shithead tries to tear them down, they just laugh at it. They just laugh at it. Because they know it's bullshit. Because they look up to and respect you way more than the person who's trying to tear them down. So they're going to rely on your opinion way more than that asshole who's trying to wreck them. Because they're going to come in contact with people that are going to try to tear them down, right? There's way more people in this world that want to bring people down to their level than want to push people beyond it. Way more. Which one do you want to be? Who do you want to be as that leader? I know who you want to be. Because if you're listening to shows like this, it's because you want to be a great leader. You want to be a great man, a great woman, a great mom, a great dad, a great uncle, a great aunt, a great coach, a great teacher, a great mentor, a great everything. Because you are those things. I know you are. I believe in you. Of course I do. So anyway, with that said, thanks for tuning in today. If this content is hitting you, please like, subscribe. Army of Great Men. We're on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Music. Please like and subscribe and share with others. And you know what? If you're liking this, I would love some reinforcement that this is impacting you and the people around you. Send me a note. Send me a note about how you reach somebody and the impact that it made on them and how simple it was to do. It's not rocket science, you guys. You can do it. So anyway, that said, another episode in the books. I've got an interview coming up pretty soon that I can't really talk about yet, but the next episode after this is an interview that I'm incredibly excited about, and I still can't really believe this interview is happening, so I don't want to jinx it. But when it comes out, you'll see me promote it like crazy because it's going to be it's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks guys. Enjoy the rest of your day and go be great. Thanks guys. Bye.